Hey guys, we're over at my dad's shop. You are not going to believe the snowmobile that I picked up for $200. Let's check it out. Here it is, 1993 Arctic Cat Thundercat 900 triple. Arctic Cat's first Thundercat. We'll see if this thing will fire up. We'll get it back over to my house, and I'll tell you guys how I got it for $200. Alright guys, this hasn't ran in over 2 years. We're going to give it a little shot of starting fluid and see if we can get these cylinders to pop. That is really, really tight. We might grab the clutch and see if we can slowly turn that motor over. Well, still pretty tight. Let's see what happens if I turn it over real slow. Wow, we might have to pull out the spark plugs and dump a little bit of two-stroke oil down the cylinders. It's pretty hard to find tools when it's not your shop. You gotta kind of scouge around a little bit and see if we can find something. Scrounge around. Got some tools. Hopefully we got the right tools in the box. Got our wrench, 13/16 socket. See what it looks like in there. Looks like a good color. Nice cardboard brown. Not bad. Good. All right. That's promising. I'm gonna try and turn it over now with the spark plugs out. That releases all the compression that the motor would have. I'm just gonna real gently turn it over with the rope. That is still really, really tight. I'm gonna find some two-stroke oil and just dump them down the holes a little bit and see if I can get those cylinders to free up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna try and spin the clutch again by hand. You don't want to put that much pressure on your pull rope, or your pull rope will break, and those are really fun to try and rewind. I like to rotate them a little bit backwards. I can already tell that two-stroke oil is working its way in there. There we go. We're spinning it backwards. Spin it forwards just a little. It's really tight. Spinning forwards for some reason. Well, it's rotating the motor backwards, which is good, but we want the motor to spin forward, so we'll keep working at it and get some little more two-stroke in there and see if we can get these cylinders to free up. All right, we just poured a little bit more two-stroke oil down the cylinders. It was rotating backwards. I had to get a pry bar out just because it wasn't rotating in the direction it needs to. But I'm really being soft right here and just slowly rotating it in the correct direction. It's starting to move. But again, I'm doing this so I don't put all that extra tension and pressure on that little starting recoil. There's little springs in there that can break, or the pull rope itself. Try using the pull rope now. Turn it over slow. See if it'll free up. All right, we're getting it. Oh, there we go. Now it's nice and free. We got it, guys. We'll put the spark plugs back in it, make sure everything's nice and tight. We'll see if this baby will pop. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Hey, that's a start. Here we go. She wants to fire. Give her a little bit more. Here we go. Pump is now starting to fill up the carburetor, so it's running on fuel rather than the starting fluid. I'll bring my trailer over, we'll get this thing loaded and head to my house. As you guys probably saw, really smoky. Sounds like it's only running on maybe one cylinder, possibly two. I think the pilot jets are pretty plugged up. We'll take the carburetors apart, we'll take a little closer look, and hopefully we can get this thing running crisp on 3 cylinders. All right, we're back at my house. Got the snowmobile offloaded. A little bit of the story behind on how I got this was I always look at KSL classifieds, and When I saw a Thundercat come up, especially this iconic 93, I knew exactly what it was. My whole world just stopped. I'm immediately messaging the guy, letting him know I'm interested, calling my dad. I'm like, Dad, a 93 Thundercat just came up for sale. Not only was it the 93, but it also had the 136 track. And we we basically stopped what we were doing. As soon as the guy messaged me back and said it was available, we headed out. But I'm gonna dive into these carburetors a little bit. Let me see if I can get this thing running the way it should. We've had this sled for 8 years. We've ridden this a lot. We just don't like to keep riding it as a daily rider because we know how rare it is and how iconic it is. But it's been 2 years since it's ran last. It's due to get the fresh fuel pumping through this thing. Let you guys see exactly what this is, and I'll kind of finish up on how that $200 deal came about. So luckily, this thing's air box has been gutted so that we could use some air pods. Makes a lot easier for access to get these carburetors off. A lot of people want to run the stock air box. I do too. That's kind of helps the sled get colder air and everything. But when the carburetor boots, when the airbox boots tear, they're hard to find, if at all, and they make it so much harder to work on. But this will be I'm just pulling off the fuel line. Obviously, it's kind of seized on there. Using this pry bar or screwdriver as a pry bar to kind of ease it off. These lines are pretty stiff. Starting to dig into the carburetors a little bit. I'm going to take the bowl off so I can expose the main jet, the pilot jet, and kind of see what condition they're in, see if they're plugged up. Drain all the old gas out of it. All right, got the bowl undone. You can see some sludge in there from some old gas from it that's sitting in my dad's shop. Get that all cleaned up. Get these jets out of here. Make sure they're clean. Get this thing back together so we can get this thing purring the way it should. Whew! Nice and sludgy. Look at that. Fuel is green. Yeah. Why? My guess is it could be a little bit of. Whew! Look at that. Nasty. Getting it. That's it. Soak. Look at those green boogers. That's why she was struggling to run. You guys probably heard that it was only running on like one cylinder when I was loading it up from my dad's shop. Probably because all that excess amount of oil I had to dump down the cylinders to get this thing freed up. So I'm going to get some brand new spark plugs, change those, start this thing up. Here's the cat house. Here's where some of my snowmobiles live. I'm going to get the spark plugs out of my Thundercat, my 99 Thundercat. Perfect. New spark plugs have a little compression washer. So it might look like I'm absolutely cranking on these, but really I'm just seating that compression washer. Perfect. All right, guys. Just got this new spark plugs put in it. The carburetors are all cleaned. It's time to get this thing started and see what it's going to run like. We'll go take it out in the field and see if we can get some fresh gas pumping through it, and should just get better and better from here. Man, every time I ride this thing, it brings back the memories of why I have it and how awesome Thundercats are. To finish up the story on how I got this sled, obviously I was looking at KSL like you guys heard. Got my dad involved. We went out to Salt Lake, which is about an hour and a half away. Super pumped. I couldn't believe what we were actually going to go find. And we get to the guy's house, and this sled was completely tore apart as far as like all this shroud and everything was taken apart. The part of the pipes were taken off. The seat was loose. Like, they looked like they were trying to work on it. He said he didn't know anything about snowmobiles. Something about his boss actually owed him some money, and instead of paying him, he actually gave him this Thundercat. The guy wanted like 250 or 300 bucks. I'm like, we drove all the way here to Salt Lake. You have it all taken apart. We don't know if all the parts and pieces are there. How's $200 sound? And he was like, that sounds awesome, and I'll even help you load it. So me, my dad, and that guy gathering up parts, throwing it all in boxes that he had. Lift the snowmobile, deadlift this big beast in the back of my truck. Threw a tie down on it, threw all the boxes of parts and pieces in my back seat. Headed back to Logan. At that time, I mean, again, this was 7 years ago. At that time, I was living in an apartment. I didn't have anywhere to store this snowmobile. I couldn't really afford like storage. So I ended up selling it to my dad. So my dad, I just sold it to him for whatever it cost me in fuel and whatever the sled cost at the time. My dad has taken really good care of this snowmobile. He's always kept it in his climate-controlled shop. He loves this thing. I love this thing. Now that I have a Thundercat, he has a Thundercat. This is why we ride old school Arctic Cats. This is why we do this, is because of these iconic triple Thundercats. We love ZRTs. We love Powder Extremes. We get so excited and so enthused to have these old Arctic Cats because they just don't make them like this anymore, and they never will. We're dang fortunate to be able to have this sled and all these many sleds that we're going to be showing you in later episodes. So please like and subscribe, and there is so much more to come from old school Arctic Cats. Thanks, guys.
Let's see you get this sled out of here with those on.
We're going to need them. We can't get it out without these. I usually wear my boxing gloves when I'm working on sleds. I don't know about you. I did give myself a thumb, so it kind of helps.
In case the wrench slips.
Okay, so wrench slips. Good. Quinn can't stop laughing.